Well, what another beautiful and productive day. Alright, let's see what we have on the list today. Do nothing, 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 do nothing. Do nothing. Alright, looks like a good plan. Let's shake it up and do nothing. God damn it, who could possibly be at the door? Who sent this? What? A loose leaf paper?
Dear Benji, a Merry Early Christmas to you. While I would have delivered this to you personally, I am hard at work preparing for the holiday season. I couldn't help but overhear your little epiphany and decided to lend you a hand so you can spread some Christmas cheer.
Lend me a hand? What is he talking about? What is this? Who the hell is this letter even from? Like... What? The Polar Express? Wait, what's on the back of this? What? The Polar Express, as in the movie The Polar Express? They made a game out of it? What was this even doing on the back? Who even sent this?
A surprise! I thought the Polar Express would be a perfect game to help you make your holiday special. It's personally one of my favorite Christmas stories. I also included your very own ticket to board the Polar Express and visit me on Christmas Eve. Hopefully this gets you back on your feet, and I hope to see you on Christmas Eve. From Santa Claus.
I could totally see myself having a career in professional voice acting.
Well, hell yeah, looks like Christmas came early. This is kind of the opportunity of a lifetime. Not only does Santa send me a gift personally, but a ticket to meet him on Christmas Eve? That's kind of a big deal. Well, what am I doing here? I got myself a holiday special to work on. I know it's been a bit, but there couldn't be a better time to get back into it. It is the holidays after all. Well, I guess let's get started. Alright, well, here we are, back in front of the desk. Without further ado, I think it's time to get this video rolling. As you can see, I've gotten myself into the holiday spirit. So, let's kick off the holiday season, let's make some spirits bright, and let's take a look at the Polar Express. I did have the game in front of me for display, but I had to refilm this after I packed a bunch of my stuff home for winter break, so...
The Polar Express. You know, the movie where Tom Hanks plays almost every character. Based on the 1985 children's book of the same name, the movie has always been a favorite of mine as a kid, and I have tons of fond memories watching it around the holidays during elementary school and with my family. The movie, even today, has some pretty high production values and stands up as one of the must-watch movies during the holiday season. In my opinion, of course. Well, what many people don't know was that this movie also had itself a tie-in video game to rake in some of that sweet, sweet Christmas cash. The game, of the same name as the film and book, was developed by Blue Tongue Entertainment for the GameCube, PS2, and PC, with a GBA port by Tantalus Media, with THQ acting as the publisher. Interestingly, the game was released a few days before the movie's release in the US, offering a sneak peek of the movie before it was even released.
With a story as magical and exciting as the Polar Express, how are they able to translate the scenes and the ideas into video game format? The movie itself doesn't really bring a lot of leeway to make a video game out of, but I assume then that the developers took some time to do some out-of-the-box thinking and maybe incorporate some creative gameplay elements so that they would make sense in the context of the story, right? What am I saying? Of course they fucked it up!
I know, shocker. A licensed kids game released by a not too well-known studio turned out bad? Who would have thought? Unsurprisingly, the game was not as well received as the movie. Most people unanimously agree that this is just a soulless cash grab trying to market off kids who were excited for the movie.
But the game can't be like bad, right? I mean, there were some parts in the movie that could give some leeway for some kind of neat action sequences, so maybe they didn't entirely fuck it up? Well, let's find out.
The game loosely follows the events of the movie. Boy wakes up to find the Polar Express stopped in front of his house on Christmas Eve, and the story then follows the kids as they travel to the North Pole to meet Santa. The only real difference is that for most of the game, that one Ebenezer Scrooge puppet, who I'm pretty sure only appeared in one part of the movie, sets out to prevent the children from reaching the North Pole by stealing their tickets. Ah, what a bastard. But before we get to playing, we have to pick our name. How about Believer? Because I believe that this game is going to be a not fun experience. The game also features cutscenes, which are actually just clips from the movie, which was pretty cool since the game came out before the movie, but if there's one thing that Santa, and YouTube, hates more than troublemakers, it's copyright infringement. So unfortunately, I will not be showing them. Well, after we board the Polar Express, the first level has us set out to find some of the children's lost tickets, as if they don't have their ticket, they can't see Santa.
I never lose my ticket. I always keep it here, safe in my pocket. My ticket, it's gone!
That right there is probably the best line in the entire game. And with that, it's up to you to find them. Because who better to ask than some random kid who only just got on the train? And I gotta say, they're making sure to capture all of the iconic moments from the movie, like avoiding killer jack-in-the-boxes, playing tennis with a jack-in-the-box. Remember that from the movie? You don't remember that from the movie? What are you talking about? This entire section has the boy... Wait a minute, do any of the characters in this movie actually have names? I don't even remember. I don't think they do. Well, for the purpose of this video, he will be dubbed The Boy. Anyways, these sections have your character doing a variety of different tasks, whether that's finding the right box that holds the ticket, having food fights with the jack-in-the-boxes, the aforementioned tennis match, this stupid ice-crushing minigame. Wouldn't you believe it? All of them are not very fun. Rather than a get-to-the-goal kind of deal, Polar Express mostly offers small challenges that range from puzzles that even a young kid could figure out easily, to something that a child would absolutely need a walkthrough or guide, like this section here with the sliding ice puzzle. It gives me Pokemon flashbacks all over again. Occasionally, the Scrooge puppet will try to get in your way, but whoa, wouldn't you believe it, he's really easy to defeat. This section just has you traveling through the train and getting everyone's tickets, while they express their oh-so undying gratitude.
Here's your ticket.
Since this part happens in a movie cutscene, I can't exactly show you what happens, but this is the part of the movie where the kid pulls the emergency brake to let the other dude on the train. But for people who haven't seen the movie, especially players back then who played this before the movie, this entire section doesn't even make sense because the kid who was let on the train doesn't even appear at all during the gameplay prior to this, so this entire scene doesn't even mean anything in the grand scheme of things. I swear, a lot of these movie cutscenes are put in places where you have absolutely no context of what's going on. Anyways, this might be a good time to mention how you control your character. When you're controlling the boy, the most you can do is move around, crouch, push objects occasionally, and jump. You're also able to jump once in midair, as most young children are able to do, of course. Maybe he just mastered Sanji's airwalk. But a double jump can't make up for how loose your character feels. Trying to be precise when moving around is extremely hard, especially in tighter areas, and that either led to me messing up what I was doing, missing my target despite being head-on, or just making platforming in general a slog. The game also just doesn't do the best job recognizing button inputs. I noticed there were slight instances of input lag here and there, and in total honesty, I am using an emulator despite actually buying the game, but I highly doubt that's the issue. One thing I will give them slight credit for is the ability to turn the camera behind you by pressing the R button. That actually does help see what you're doing, and it would be nice if something like Crash Bandicoot offered that option. Throughout the levels, you can find coins which upon collecting 20, give you an extra continue. Also, is it just me, or does the sound it makes remind you of collecting studs in something like a Lego game? There are also these toy parts laying around which unlock bonus content if you complete a set, and as you can see, I searched every nook and cranny. Lastly, there are these gold hearts that restore your health, which at points might come in handy than you would imagine. That is if someone is actually willing to sit through all of this. Because of the setting of the game, most of the time you won't really be traveling through any super unique environments, and given its status as a early 2000s console game developed by a not first-party developer, it does not look that good either. The game also goes for an orchestral soundtrack, which I guess makes sense given the fact that it's a Christmas game, but nothing that's worth re-listening to. After pulling a Metal Gear Solid through the kitchen, which was surprisingly kinda hard for some reason, breaking some ice blocks, and murdering these living, moving toys with a hammer, all of the tickets have been returned safe and sound. Yay! But oops, Scrooge is up to no good again, and it looks like he managed to steal this girl's ticket and hide it somewhere people can't find it. So following the events of the movie, the conductor takes the girl to the front of the train with the boy in pursuit after finding said ticket. Here, you have to move your way across the top of the train while avoiding the obstacles ahead of you. And damn, you gotta give the kid some credit because he takes running into objects at what definitely has to be almost 100 miles per hour pretty well. This part fucking sucks, to be honest. You can switch from being on top of the train to hanging on the ledge at the edge of each car if there is an obstacle you can't jump or duck over. But sometimes you do not have enough time to react to the objects and end up getting hit anyways, which sends you back to the front of the current car you were on. I kept getting stressed out because I assumed I was supposed to catch up with the conductor and the girl, but no matter how far I got, he always seemed to get farther away. I even restarted the level before finding out that you aren't supposed to catch up. I guess it makes sense following the events of the movie, because this is the part where that kid meets up with that hobo guy on top of the train. So I guess I wasted my time replaying the level for nothing. I just wish that the level didn't last as long because it made me think I had to catch up to him. After realizing that the hobo definitely does not sound like Tom Hanks.
You managed to get this far. You're a regular hero, trying to give that girl her ticket back.
He explains that the quickest way to the front of the train is to hop on the skis and take a shortcut. This takes us to a segment where we have to guide the boy and the hobo down the mountain to get to the front of the train, but if my memory serves me correctly, didn't they just ride across the top of the train in the movie? Why are we just skiing down this random mountain to get to the front? That seems like the opposite of a shortcut. This part isn't so bad. The control is a tad loose, and it would have been nice if the obstacles broke rather than leaving you stuck for a bit and losing precious time, but it's alright. Not that much to complain about here despite its length. This section lasts almost 5 minutes, which is a little tiring. After catching up with the train and reaching the front, you find yourself in the control room and the train has decided it does not feel like moving. So it's up to the boy and the girl from earlier to help the mechanics fix it. The first part here involves you catching the blue and green parts while avoiding the barreling large chunks of coal and giving it back to the mechanics. It really sucks when you're down to the last part for each because you have to make sure it's not only the specific part you need, but the right color, as the dude on the right only takes blue parts while the dude on the left only takes green. But before you know it, they fix the train and it's ready to get moving. After an inspiring pep talk,
I'm just worried about what the conductor will do when he realizes that I've stopped the train again.
Don't worry about that. We can work it out if we stick together.
it's time to get the train moving, which they decide to ask the boy to help with again.
You know, this kid kinda has it fucking rough. He gets a ticket to meet Santa Claus on Christmas Eve on a magical train, but he's been asked to do chores the entire fucking time. Give the kid a fucking break.
For some reason, we're playing a rhythm game now, and the only way to get the train moving is to follow the prompts on screen to this smooth, smooth beat. I was getting really annoyed with this section at first because even though I was moving the stick in the right direction, it kept registering it as wrong. That's when I realized that this is one of those games that use the controller's fabled D-pad. Ooh, this part sucks. It's boring, it's repetitive, it's long, and it doesn't even make sense because it doesn't even look like they're doing anything to get the train moving besides dancing around like jackasses. God, I was just begging for this part to be over. After the train is up and running, you give the girl her missing ticket, and hopefully you can finally enjoy the rest of the trip. Oh god damn it! Following this little segment here is an ice puzzle, and oh man, this is probably one of the worst I've ever done. Not because it was genuinely hard, no. It was one of the most tedious things I've ever had to sit through. For some reason, this girl is afraid of slipping on the ice despite the boy walking around on it just fine. So she insists you open up a path to lead the way. How do you do that? By pushing these blocks around. Not only do you have to push the blocks around so you can create a path for her to slide across, you also have to make sure she has something she can push off of depending on the direction. So that means if you want her to go up, you need to make sure she has something to push off of behind her. Why? Why is that a thing that has to happen? It just unnecessarily makes the puzzle longer without offering any real challenge, despite challenging your fucking patience. So I had to go all around the train car, pushing the boxes in just the right way so that she could get to the end, while making sure she has something to push on. And finally, she makes it to the end. Fuck you, learn to walk on the ice. Not that hard. Well, after that, you two can surely relax and...
So you want to go to the North Pole, do you? Well, to get there, you'll have to get past me. And I don't believe you can do it.
Has that ever happened in the movie? I know it's been a bit since I've last seen the movie, but at least if I remember, I don't quite remember the part where the giant Ebenezer Scrooge puppet attempts to kill a bunch of children and wreck a fucking train car. What?
In what is probably the game's only real boss battle, you and the children decide to throw snowballs at the giant raging puppet. He'll attack by banging the ground, constantly creating these shockwaves that you have to jump over. After hitting him once with a snowball, there will be an opening to hit his big gold heart in the middle, rinse and repeat, and he eventually dies. I honestly just don't really understand the point of this segment. It's not like the boss adds any more phases to his patterns or gets any harder at all. What is the point of this segment? That's not even the best part though. Things get so much better when the conductor comes in after the kids defeat the puppet and says,
"Would you children care to join us in the dining car? It's time we had some refreshments."
Absolutely fucking beautiful. Well, anyways, you make your way back to prepare for some good old hot chocolate. This was one of my favorite parts of the movies because of how energetic the song and dance number was and that catchy theme. So...
I'm gonna need your assistance, young man. As you can see, we have a lot of thirsty passengers, but we're short one waiter. I need you to help out and make sure that everyone gets a cup of hot chocolate. Do you think you can do that?
I think so. I've never done it before.
Trust me, I think you'll be a natural.
So you're forced into labor and serve as a waiter. And it's another rhythm game section? What the fuck? This one is probably worse than the last because of how cruel this fucking premise is, and it lasts so much longer. Everyone else gets to sit around and wait for their hot chocolate while you and the other waiters serve everyone else. Poor kid, I hope he gets some proper compensation for all this shit he's had to go through. Force your way through this boring-ass section, and the movie essentially skips to where you arrive at the North Pole. After all that shit, we finally made it. Since most of this next part is explained in a movie cutscene, I'll just sum up what happens. As those who have seen the movie would know, this is the part where the boy and the girl go back into the train to talk to that other kid who's just been sitting in the observation deck. Your character accidentally detaches the car they're in, and they're separated from everyone else. This takes you on a tedious on-rails segment where you have to guide the train car down the slope while avoiding these fucking awful potholes. I know that winter is when they're at their worst, but this is just ridiculous. The girl will constantly scream which direction you should go if there's a fork in the road, as if you couldn't, see what was ahead of you. How much faith do they have in children anyways? After over 5 minutes of this bullshit, I swear the main reason a lot of these minigames suck is because of how long the missions are. You somehow defy the laws of physics and enter the toy factory? I always assumed that's what it was. After watching some elves enter this vehicle that guides them around the factory via these tubes, you decide to hop in and find a way out. The tubes have these colored switches you have to hit, and depending on what this little screen says down here, or by listening to the incessant shouting from the girl as to which one to hit.
Yellow again! Blue! Go for blue! Green! Green! Go for green!
And since this seemed like a pretty long activity already, I assume I only had to do this once, so I hit all the switches and move on.
Blue! Go for blue!
That was round 1? And there are 6 rounds? Pfft, I'm such a fucking idiot. Silly of me to assume that this 4-minute activity would be 1 fucking round. 6 fucking rounds?!
Expecting that children have a shit ton of patience, you have to literally do this 5 more times. Sometimes you can get lucky and hit all the switches in the correct order quickly, but this just way overstays its welcome. Oh wait, it does tell you how many rounds there are. Well, I'm a fucking idiot, but still, that doesn't excuse the fact that this minigame goes on for way too long. After this, you make your way into the present factory, and the scene immediately changes to the kid in the green pajamas, running away trying to catch a present. This leads to a long section involving pulling levers to change the direction of conveyor belts to try and open the path to the exit. You also have to do this within 3 rooms, and each challenge gets longer. Not fun, not engaging in any way, but you can slightly cheese it and head down a path you initially aren't supposed to yet. The thing is, this doesn't even count as a puzzle. As long as you follow the path, you won't get stuck, so there's no degree of thinking here. You then make it to the giant mountain of presents, but somehow they got stuck. I know, I'm worried too. The gang all decide that they have to climb the mountain of presents to get out. What logic? This is the game's only real traditional platforming segment. Simply just make your way to the top. Easy, right? Not really. Not because it's hard, just because these controls suck. Because of how loose your character feels, precise jumps are a literal fucking pipe dream. So don't be surprised if you often find yourself scrambling for footing or just straight up missing. Luckily, since this game was designed for children, there are these little box springs that send you back up. But this is ridiculous. These swinging ribbons also suck because no matter what you do, most of the time you will miss the jump to the next ribbon. There's no sense of momentum. This is not the kind of game to feature platforming segments. Well, if you decided to push through this terrible section, you find yourselves on the giant zeppelin that delivers the toys to Santa. Oh, and the kid with the yellow shirt is also here now too. In what is probably the most ridiculous request yet, the elf manning the ship asks you to fly the Zeppelin to Santa, despite him being more than qualified to do it himself. In what is the climactic final level, you have to dodge your way through all the obstacles and buildings in your way, and reach the end within the time limit. The beginning of the stage won't be too bad, but I swear, the further you get into it, the obstacles require such a huge level of accuracy and preciseness. Some obstacles are really picky about what altitude you have to be at, and some areas require you to carefully maneuver the bag through the tight city streets. You are able to find these wrenches to repair your ship if it gets damaged, but it won't help because of how many obstacles there are at points. You can find yourself getting hit multiple times in a row without being able to do anything. I wouldn't be surprised if this was the level kids would never be able to beat, along with the slide puzzle. You know what I mean. Labyrinth Zone in Sonic 1, Chemical Plant Zone in Sonic 2, that kind of shit. This section also lasts over 5 minutes, so be prepared to deal with this shit for the long run. Finally, after you manage to overcome the giant wave of bullshit, you at last reach the end. It ends with a cutscene from the movie of Santa flying off, and the game just ends. Just abruptly ends.
Oh, well, thank God it's over. Quite literally, this game was a fucking train wreck. The game was just padded out with so many boring minigames, and I forgot what I was supposed to say. While the game loosely follows the events of the movie, it is padded out with so many unnecessary and boring minigames, and it doesn't even make sense within the context of the plot of the movie. And the movie also just straight up tramples any message that the movie was trying to deliver. You know, with the boy being skeptical about Santa Claus at the start and having his belief strengthened by the end of the movie and being able to hear the bell. None of that is mentioned at all, and as a result, it makes the trip from point A to point B kinda pointless.
This is a game that, in all honesty, didn't need to exist at all. Yeah, as previously mentioned, this game does have action set pieces, but not enough to make a cohesive game out of it. It makes the minigames you play along the way feel completely pointless as a result. More importantly, they're so fucking boring. This game is bad, but it's not the kind of bad where you can really find a ton of shit to make fun of. It just felt like a slog. Oh, and a quick by the way, that bonus content? All I unlocked was one of the minigames that I played in the story mode, so wow, what great bonus content. All of the controls suck, you have a premise that doesn't translate well into a movie, awful minigames. This game has kind of become lost to time, and it's probably for the best. It at least doesn't do anything to hinder the level of enjoyment someone could get from watching the movie, but if I was given this on Christmas Day, I would be fucking pissed off.
Well, I just feel like I wasted my fucking time. You know what? What a shitty way to start the holidays. This is fucked up. I can't believe that... Actually, you know what? I don't think I'm even gonna let this slide. I gotta do something about this.
To Santa, I received your present as well as the ticket, and am very thankful for your generosity. I must inform you, however, that in your attempt to give me an enthralling title to dedicate a good Christmas special to, you gave me something no better than the reindeer droppings your elves are probably forced to clean up. You made me experience an intense level of anguish, as well as boredom, and I can never get that time back. I made a holiday special alright, but not the one you were probably expecting. In conclusion, you are an absolute asshole, and I wish that you never even decided to help me in the first place. Fuck you, Benji.
It's done. No, you know what? We're actually not done.
Where is that ticket? I thought I had it.
There it is. There. Now it's done. Alright, it's time to go mail this fucking letter. Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for watching. Have yourselves a Merry Christmas or a Happy Holidays, and I will see you in 2023.